Hello everyone, happy Friday. So this is just going to be a video just giving you some advice and education around pacing and avoiding boom and bust. So it's not the most exciting topic, but it's really important when you're thinking about exercise and also how to manage your day-to-day life, because most of us do too much and we end up suffering afterwards. And that could be too much in your job, you're trying to fit too much into your week with your family, or you're training too hard to try to achieve something and you're just trying to fit too much in too soon. Okay, so I'm gonna try and shorten this video down because last one was around 20 minutes and I'm sure you got bored of my voice. So we're just gonna try and keep this nice and short, just to give you a bit of an idea of what I try to teach people around pacing and avoiding boom and bust. So basically, pacing means that you are trying to continue with an activity at a level which isn't going to completely fatigue you, and that could be mentally or physically. So if we talk about exercise, most people when they're doing a strength training program will work within, say, 70–80% of their maximal effort, because that will allow them to recover, and then the next time they train they'll be able to do that bit more. A lot of people will work to their maximum to try and achieve as much as they can, but you're always going to end up with burnout if you do that. So following a strict program which allows you to monitor how hard you're working is going to be really helpful, especially when we think about our lifestyle and the benefits of exercise. Is that unless you're trying to get to a marathon, or if you're trying to train to get ready for a sporting event like maybe a final or a massive competition, exercise is about your health in the long term. So you want to try and have longevity in your being able to exercise as well. If you're pushing yourself too hard too often, then you're not going to be able to train in the long term, because you're going to keep getting injuries, you're going to have burnout. So pacing is a level at which your body can tolerate, which will prevent burnout and allow you to keep training week after week, month after month, and year after year. That's not to say that you have to work at the same level all the time, but this is where that boom and bust will come into it. So boom and bust means that you push yourself as hard as you can, and then at some point you bust, and then you hit the floor. That could be through injury or just burnout. And then what you do is, as you recover, you push yourself as hard as you can, and then you bust again. So that is not good, and you'll be able to see that on a chart that you're constantly going up and down. So just to try and create an image in your mind, what pacing is pushing yourself a bit harder and then giving yourself a bit of a day off, not fully, but a bit of time off in terms of easing off your training and then pushing a bit harder, easing off your training, pushing a bit harder. So it's a bit more of a wave than peaks and troughs. Ideally, what you want to find is there's a wave with progression. So you're gradually getting better and better. So that could be with exercise, you're maybe going to start off training once a week to allow your body to get used to it. Then you're going to progress to twice a week, but not 2 days in a row. You're going to give yourself a couple of days off, until you might even be able to start training 5 days a week, but you still need those couple of days off to allow your body to heal and recover. Within strength training, you only really want to be training your body, or the same part of your body, twice or 3 times a week. So if you do a lot of exercise on your chest or your shoulders, then you want to give yourself a couple of days recovery to allow your body to heal and grow. If you're constantly training your shoulders every day, then you're going to hit a wall and then you're going to bust. Okay, so that's an example of booming and busting. Having a nice pacing attitude would be training your shoulders on Monday and then giving it a rest till Thursday and then training again. Within your sessions, you might find that on a Monday, you train your shoulders really hard. On a Thursday, you don't train them as hard, so it gives you that nice wave of effort. So this can be like micro-managed within your session, or macro, so that's more large scale, and that could be looking over like a 6-week period to 12-week period. So our sessions are 6 weeks. So within your training, you might want to think about 1 week pushing yourself really hard, and the next week just pushing yourself still pushing yourself, but just not pushing yourself quite as hard, just so that you're allowing your body to have those peaks and troughs. Or not so much peaks and troughs, but just waves to pace yourself. Peaks and troughs is what you want to avoid. It's as if in the third week of your training, you have to stop completely because you've pushed yourself too hard, okay? So I really want you to think about pacing within your day-to-day lives, within exercise, to make sure that after 6 weeks, you don't have to stop because you're burnt out either mentally, physically, or you have an injury, okay? So that's one of the things that we find is when people come to Physio Clinic, is we find out what their patterns of activity were, and we tend to find people are booming and busting. And it's about changing their way of thinking to change their behaviour, and then that way they're more successful in their sports, more successful in exercise, and overall in life if it's caused by overworking. So if you think about neck and back pain, people will get neck and back pain when they're stressed, when they're not sleeping enough, when they're sitting at their desks for long periods of the day, and that's just the same as exercise in terms of pacing. Is if you're doing those very things where you're not sleeping enough, you're working too many hours, and you're sitting for long periods, you're basically booming, and at some point you're going to bust. Okay, so it flips in and out of exercise and day-to-day life when you're thinking about pacing. So I'll cut the video there because, as I say, I know I can keep talking, but hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea about pacing and avoiding boom and bust cycle. Thanks a lot for listening, guys, and I'll see you all soon.